close your eyes for a moment. Imagine complete darkness. Not the darkness of your bedroom with the curtains drawn. Not the darkness of a power cut that lasts 20 minutes. Real, absolute darkness. The kind that existed before electricity, before streetlights, before the faint blue glow of a phone screen. A darkness so deep you could not see your own hand in front of your face. For 300,000 years, that darkness was not an inconvenience, it was a death sentence waiting to be carried out. And your ancestors knew it. They felt it in their bones every single night. That cold, crawling certainty that something in the black was watching them, something with better eyes, something that had been waiting patiently since before the sun went down. Now, here's the question that should disturb you. We conquered that darkness. We flooded the night with light. We made the shadows retreat, and yet you still lie awake at 3 a.m. Heart rate elevated, cortisol flooding your bloodstream, a low, persistent dread sitting in your chest that you cannot name and cannot locate. Your ancestors feared the dark because something real lived inside it. What exactly are you afraid of? To understand what fear did to the human brain, you first need to understand what the dark actually contained, not as a metaphor, but as a biological fact. 100,000 years ago, the African savanna at night was one of the most lethal environments a human being could occupy. Lions are crepuscular hunters. They are most active in the hours just before dawn, when the darkness is deepest and human vision is at its absolute worst. Leopards hunt at night, almost exclusively, silent, solitary, capable of carrying prey twice their own body weight directly up into a tree before you ever heard them coming. Cave hyenas ran in coordinated packs of 20 or more. Their vision in darkness was exceptional. Yours was completely useless, and the human body, stripped of every technological advantage, was catastrophically vulnerable after sunset. No claws, no fangs, poor night vision, slow, loud, warm-blooded, in a way that made you visible to heat-sensitive predators from a distance you could not even comprehend. When darkness fell, your ancestors' nervous system did not simply become cautious, it entered a state of sustained, full-spectrum biological alarm. The amygdala, your brain's threat detection architecture, fired continuously through the night. Cortisol and adrenaline moved through the bloodstream in slow, persistent waves. Heart rate elevated slightly but permanently until dawn. Muscles held a low background tension, ready to explode into movement at any sound. Sleep was light, fragmented, designed to be interrupted because the ancestor who slept deeply through the night sometimes did not wake up. But the ancestor who slept lightly, who snapped awake at every sound, who felt the darkness as a physical weight pressing down on their chest, that ancestor survived. That ancestor had children, and those children had children until eventually, tens of thousands of generations later, one of them became you. This is not poetry. This is the direct, unbroken biological inheritance sitting inside your nervous system right now. The fear of darkness was not a weakness. It was the price of admission to being alive.
Then something changed. Not slowly, the way evolution changes things. Suddenly, in 1879, Thomas Edison demonstrated a functional incandescent light bulb. Within decades, cities began illuminating their streets. Within a century, the darkness that had defined every single night of human existence for 300,000 years simply stopped existing for most of the developed world. You can drive through major cities today and find streets brighter at midnight than they were at noon in the ancient world. The predators are gone. The darkness is gone. The threat that shaped the human nervous system across hundreds of thousands of years of evolution eliminated within a handful of generations. But evolution does not work that fast. Your brain did not receive this update. The amygdala that kept your ancestor alive on the dark savanna is structurally, neurologically, and functionally identical to the one sitting in your skull right now. The threat detection circuitry is the same. The cortisol pathways are the same. The biological machinery built specifically to keep a fragile, slow, nearly blind primate alive through the most dangerous hours of the night is still fully operational. Still scanning, still waiting, still searching the environment for the threat it was built to find. Except now the shadows are empty, and a brain built to find danger will find it somewhere. Here is where the story becomes something darker than predators. When the physical threat disappeared, the ancient fear mechanism did not power down. It did what all sophisticated biological systems do when their original function becomes obsolete. It adapted. It found new targets. Psychologists call this process threat generalization, the brain's tendency to transfer fear responses from known, concrete dangers to abstract, symbolic ones that share similar structural characteristics. The darkness hid unknown things that could hurt you. The future hides unknown things that could hurt you. To a 300,000-year-old brain, the structural difference between those two statements is almost negligible. Think about what genuinely frightens modern humans: financial collapse, career failure, social rejection, chronic illness, the slow erosion of relevance, of purpose, of being needed by anyone. None of these are predators. None of them have teeth. None of them can cross a room and end your life in 4 seconds. And yet, neuroimaging studies show that when subjects are exposed to thoughts of financial ruin or severe social rejection, the amygdala activates with a ferocity nearly identical to its response to immediate physical danger. The cortisol release is the same. The adrenaline signature is the same. The cardiovascular response, elevated heart rate, constricted blood vessels, elevated blood pressure, is virtually indistinguishable. Your body is running the identical biological program it ran on the savannah at night, the same ancient emergency protocol, except the emergency is a mortgage payment, a performance review, a message left on red. The neuroscientist Antonio Damasio spent decades studying the relationship between emotion, fear, and decision-making. His research confirmed something that should fundamentally change how you understand your own mind. The human brain does not process abstract worry differently from an immediate physical threat. It processes them through the same neural architecture. It speaks the same biological language for both. Which means your nervous system cannot tell the difference between being stalked by a cave lion and lying awake calculating whether you will have enough money to retire. Both feel like dying, because to the ancient machinery driving your biology, they are. An alarm system that fires correctly saves your life. An alarm system that fires constantly for threats that do not exist, for shadows that contain nothing, destroys it slowly. This is the central tragedy of the modern human nervous system. The ancient alarm system was designed for short, intense bursts. You see the predator, the amygdala fires, cortisol and adrenaline flood the bloodstream. You run or you fight. The threat resolves, the chemicals clear, the system resets. The entire cycle was designed to last minutes. Modern fear does not work this way. Financial anxiety does not resolve in minutes. It sits in the background of every waking hour for years, sometimes decades, and the cortisol keeps flowing. Not in explosive bursts your body can clear and recover from, in slow, chronic, relentless waves that the human biological system was never engineered to sustain. The research on chronic cortisol exposure is some of the most sobering in all of modern medicine. Sustained, elevated cortisol suppresses immune function, accelerates cellular aging, and degrades hippocampal tissue, the brain region most directly responsible for memory formation and emotional regulation. It disrupts sleep architecture at a neurological level. It systematically dismantles the prefrontal cortex's capacity for rational decision-making, the very cognitive function you need most to address the abstract problems driving the fear in the first place. The ancient alarm system, misfiring continuously against shadows that contain nothing, is quietly, methodically taking the structure of your mind apart. And the cruelest part of this entire mechanism, the more cortisol degrades your prefrontal cortex, the less capable you become of thinking clearly about the future, which makes the future feel more threatening, which drives more cortisol, which degrades the prefrontal cortex further. The loop feeds itself. the darkness gets darker, and there is no dawn coming to end it.
Here is something the modern conversation about fear almost never discusses. Your ancestors were not paralyzed by the dark. They were afraid of it, genuinely, viscerally, biologically terrified of it, and they sat beside the fire anyway. They did not eliminate the fear. They built a structure around it. Fire was not simply warmth or light. Fire was a psychological architecture, a boundary drawn against the unknown, a way of saying, the darkness ends here. Inside this circle, we exist. We are real. We are together. Beyond it, whatever lives there, and we do not go looking for it tonight. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner's research into the Jew-Hoansi people, one of the few remaining groups still living in ways that closely resemble pre-agricultural human life, found something remarkable about their evening fires. During daylight hours, conversation was practical, functional, oriented toward tasks and problems requiring immediate resolution. But at night, gathered around the fire, 80% of conversation shifted to something entirely different. Stories, myths, shared histories, accounts of people who faced impossible things and survived them, not as entertainment, as psychological inoculation. The story said, darkness has always existed, danger has always existed, and humans have always come through the other side. They were not trying to eliminate fear. They were building a relationship with it that did not require its elimination. That is a fundamentally different project than the one modern culture sells you. Modern culture tells you fear is a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be removed, a malfunction requiring correction. Your ancestors understood something more precise. Fear is information. The question has never been how to stop being afraid. The question has always been what you build around the fire while the darkness waits outside. Your ancestors sat in the dark for 300,000 years, every single night, with real things in the shadows that genuinely wanted to kill them. And they are the reason you exist, not because they were fearless, because they were afraid and they stayed. They built fires, they told stories, they held the circle together until morning came. But morning always came for them because the threat was real and finite. The sun rose, the predators retreated, and the darkness ended. Your darkness does not end at dawn. Your darkness has no edges, no claws you can name, no eyes you can locate in the shadows. It is the fear of things that have not happened yet, of futures that may never arrive, of failures that exist nowhere except inside the biology your ancestors left you. And here is the thought I want to leave inside you. Your ancestors did not fear the dark because they were primitive. They feared it because it deserved to be feared. What does it mean that the most sophisticated, most educated, most medically advanced humans in the history of the species are more chronically afraid than the people who slept on the ground surrounded by apex predators with nothing but fire and each other? What exactly did we gain when we turned the lights on, and what did we lose when we forgot how to sit beside the fire and simply wait for morning?